When a theist claims that an atheist is wrong about atheism, you just know that I need to see what they're saying. The Thinking Dutchman has made a video about Ricky Gervais and how he's wrong about atheism. I'm pretty certain that this will be an easy one to tick off the list as debunked. Hello, I'm the Skeptic. I watch videos on YouTube that make extraordinary claims, whether that's flat earth, strange conspiracies, or even the claim that a god is real, and then explain why I can't accept their position. The Thinking Dutchman, ironically, posts thoughtful commentary on anti-Christian content. What about anti-Hindu or anti-Muslim, anti-Judaism? I could go on. In this God Squad video, the Dutchman thinks that Gervais has made a fool of himself on national TV when spouting, in his words, irrational slogans. But before we take a look, don't forget to subscribe, hit that bell icon for notifications of more videos, and smash the like button. Here is the video.
Today we'll take a critical look at some of the things Ricky said about the existence of God. Let's start with his claim that atheism is not a belief system.
Before we even watch the rest of this clip, let me jump in. Atheism is not a belief system. It's a rejection of belief. The stance is not, I believe there are no gods. The stance is, I do not believe there are gods. There is no belief needed. It's a rejection of a claim of your belief.
An agnostic atheist is someone who doesn't know there's a God or not, as no one does.
So you're not convicted of your atheism?
Well, I
You're not
am.
Sure.
No, I am, because atheism is only rejecting the claim that there is a God. Atheism isn't a belief system.
This is a popular claim among atheists, because if this is true, then they don't really have the burden of proof to defend their position.
Exactly. We don't have to show why we don't believe. It's up to the believer to show they have a valid reason for their belief to convince others. The burden of proof is not on the rejection of a claim. I don't say, I collect keychains, and you say, I don't believe you, to which I reply, prove it. Prove I don't collect keychains. That just doesn't make sense.
Let me give two problems with this definition. This definition makes atheism meaningless. If we define atheism as simply a rejection of the claim that God exists, then atheism is just a claim about the atheist state of mind, not a claim about God's existence.
His lack of understanding and acceptance is really frustrating, right? Atheists make no claim on God's existence. They reject the claims that a God is real due to a lack of evidence.
The atheist is simply saying, I'm not psychologically convinced that God exists.
Yes. How else would you convince someone with a brain? You can't believe you're convinced. You either are or you're not. And if you are, there's usually a good reason for which you'd have evidence, hopefully. Anyway, I digress.
So what? A person's psychological state is irrelevant in the pursuit of truth.
What? No.
Because it offers no evidence for or against God. If I say that I lack a belief in unguided evolution, then no atheist would say that this shows that evolution is therefore false.
But in this instance, there's a mountain of evidence to support the evolutionary theory. That's a terrible example. Keep going.
With this definition, atheism cannot be true or false, which makes it meaningless.
Again, the Dutchman's understanding of atheism is flawed. Atheism isn't about a true or false, it's a rejection of a claim.
If atheists wish to join the debate about God's existence, then they should not hide behind their meaningless definition and state what they believe instead of just claiming that they lack belief.
Well, you'll be waiting a long time. Atheism is a lack of belief. It's a shame you can't accept that's what it means.
And this brings me to the second problem. Atheists have a worldview with positive beliefs. It is not really true that atheists just lack a belief in God. There's more going on. To just lack a belief in God is agnosticism, not atheism.
Well, actually, Gnosticism and agnosticism are completely different. The term Gnostic refers to knowledge. An agnostic theist doesn't know there is a God but believes there is. An agnostic atheist doesn't know if there's a God but rejects the claims of those that says there is a God. Simple, really.
Most atheists really believe that God does not exist, and their worldview reflects this.
Wrong again. We don't believe a God does exist. We take the position of not believing a God exists.
We all have a worldview. A worldview is a set of beliefs about the big questions in life, such as, where do we come from? What's the meaning of life? How should we live? What's our destiny?
You're speaking for a lot of people there. My worldview is more, what's for dinner? Can I plant more trees? I don't ask where we came from, as I accept the scientific explanations that we have thus far.
Whether God exists has major implications to the answers we give to the big questions. First, regarding human origins. If God does not exist, then there's not really a reason why we exist.
Well, no, there are, but you don't accept them.
We are a cosmic accident. But if God exists, then he intended us to be here.
But can you demonstrate a God exists? If you can, then many atheists would be open to the idea that you might be right. But so far, no theist has ever demonstrated that there even is a God, thus fueling the lack of belief that you are correct. Let me just point out that it's a lack of belief of your standpoint, not a belief that you're wrong.
According to the theist, ultimate reality is not space, time, and matter, but consciousness.
Okay. And he then goes on to claim that everyone has a worldview and that everyone has a burden of proof to defend it. I can definitely prove what I have for dinner if that's what he wants.
Atheists have the responsibility to make a compelling case for many important things, such as the beginning of the universe.
Hold up. Atheism is just a position on gods. You're moving the goalposts here. Wasn't this meant to be about how Ricky Gervais was wrong about atheism?
What is the cause of the universe if God does not exist?
Explained in science.
The fine-tuning of the universe. How does the atheist explain the fact that the fundamental constants and quantities of the universe are so precisely fine-tuned for life if there's no God?
Science.
The laws of nature. Where do the laws of nature come from if there's no lawgiver?
Science.
Information. Our DNA, for example, is a code of over 3 billion letters long, written in perfect order. Where does this information come from if there's no intelligent designer?
From the humans that assigned letters to the code to make it more understandable to a wider audience. You don't get a strand of DNA and it's made up of actual letters.
Or life. If God does not exist, then life must have originated from non-life. How does the atheist explain this?
Science!
Objective morality. How can certain acts like raping and torturing be really evil if there's no God who's the perfect standard of goodness?
Human well-being. You don't need an omnipotent being to know that if you murder someone, you're gonna get punished by law.
The list goes on, but I think you can see my point.
No, I can't.
We all have a worldview and we all have the burden of proof. It follows that Ricky is not justified to hide behind his lazy definition of atheism. He has the burden of proof to show how ultimate reality can be explained without God.
No, he doesn't. That's not up to Ricky. He just says he doesn't believe that there are gods. If you can prove that there is one, then it follows that all other questions can then be looked at. The existence of everything is not proof of a god, so unfortunately we look to the best understanding we have so far, which we get by looking at science. The Dutchman then goes on to talk about science books being more reliable than most holy books, but then he drops this absolute doozy.
What if there is a holy book that can be tested to see if it's an actual revelation from God? This is the case with the Bible. For example, if there is strong historical evidence that Jesus claimed to be God, that he died on the cross and that he physically rose from the dead, then we have good reason to believe the things he said.
Oh, wow! If there's strong evidence that New York City exists and that crime is dealt with every day, does that then prove the existence of Spider-Man? I don't think so. Also, there isn't strong evidence that these Jesus things actually happened. It's just hearsay. He then goes on to talk about Gervais dismissing all religious text and not being justified to do so, and then some other guy uses an analogy of podium builders versus gods, which is actually very funny and misses the point completely. Given that we know and can examine that podiums exist, and we can watch a single podium be built by one or multiple people, but there's still no actual evidence for a god, it's pretty amusing. I think it's probably best to leave it there. Feel free to let me know in the section below if you'd like me to take a look at more extraordinary claims, and I can make a video on that too. As for this video being explained, we can give it a big skeptic. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. From me, the skeptic, stay safe, keep thinking logically, and ask questions. Skepticism is the first step towards truth. See you next Saturday.